Welcome back, folks, for more Let's Play Under a Killing Moon. If you recall, we had just gotten this newspaper and began to look at the articles. Art and Soul by Albie Tewksbury. Sounds like some kind of Lord of the Rings fruit. Grown in the Shire. Art is not just dead in the Bay Area. Its rotting corpse is stinking up the place. The latest excuse for an art exhibit was unveiled at the Ink and Oils Emporium, or the Stinkin' Spoils Emporium, as I am wont to call it. This pathetic showing, by an alleged artist who calls himself Logo, was the most hideous spectacle of the season. At least this Logo character has an inkling of intelligence. If I dared to pass off such putrid trash as art, I wouldn't use my real name either. The most striking thing about the presentation is the artist's hairdo, which closely resembled a dust mop used to soak up an oil spill, then dried to a crisp under a sun lamp. On the lighter side, Kay Winthrop's Black Tie Art Appreciation fundraiser was not nearly as unbearable as I'd feared it would be. The featured artwork, as always, was despicable, but for once the hors d'oeuvres didn't make me vomit. The champagne was not vintage, but not the cat pee of previous years. All in all, not a complete waste of an evening. Until next week, remember, life without art is just life. And I have a kitty that wants to play, but cannot play right now. We are recording. A Grateful Dead tour. The Grateful Dead, in its third incarnation, have announced plans for a resurrection tour to begin next week in Sacramento, California, and end up in Lazarus, Pennsylvania. It's an appropriate place to end a resurrection tour. The tour is scheduled to run for 3 years, during which the band will play 1,093 shows. Accordion player Geraldo Rodriguez says the band is excited to get back on the road after a layoff of a week and a half. We were due for a rest after our last world tour, but by Thursday we were all getting a little antsy. A week and a half? Good grief. Future plans include a new album, a movie filmed on tour, and a possible benefit concert put on in conjunction with the Rolling Stones. Editorial: Why the Crusade Must Be Stopped, Part 2 of 5 by Loogie Trundle. Would you go by Loogie? I'd pick a different handle. In the years since World War III, we have seen a growing form of discrimination which has come into full malevolent bloom. Thankfully, we are not talking about racial or sexual bias, both of which are no longer the blights on society they once were. Sure they aren't. The social disease that afflicts us now is genetic discrimination. That is kind of a valid point, really. I mean, once you've got mutants entering the scene, the color of your skin or what naughty bits you have kind of takes on a, less urgent tone to most discriminatory people, I guess. There are in this world evil forces that exist with the specific purpose of separating the genetically unchallenged from the rest of the population. This eugenics movement, the classifying of humans by their genetic quality, has been around since the late 1800s, but in those days humans were already classified by skin color and gender, as I just said. Several significant movements in history have attempted to exterminate an entire race, and I believe we are witnessing yet another. I can talk, I promise. The crusade for genetic purity is spearheading this dark movement. Reverend Shepherd, in the guise of a placid, benevolent teacher, is, in reality, a hate-monger. His words, softly spoken, plant the seeds of hate between those with genetic flaws and those without. And now, the crusade has trumpeted the arrival of the Moonchild, the so-called refuge of the pure. Supposedly a religious retreat where the faithful crusaders go to take part in spiritual ceremonies, it is, in reality, a symbol of divisiveness. A jewel in the heavens where only a few may go, the rest excluded by a condition they did not ask for and cannot change. When will each and every inhabitant on this earth open his or her eyes? I hope for the day when When will we all be able to look upon each other as human beings and not as man or woman, black or white, mutant or norm? To paraphrase Shakespeare, I am mutant. Hath not a mutant hands, organs, dimensions, senses, affections, passions? Fed with the same food, hurt with the same weapons? If you prick us, do we not bleed? If you poison us, do we not die? Let's see. So you see, it's not all... well, I mean, you could tell that before, but things are not happy between the norms, quote-unquote, and the mutants. There's old Jim's bait shop. Lively crawlers in an old coffee can of your choice. Senator committed to asylum. Reese's press conference hysteric. I did not read that. Boy, he has buck teeth. Or at least they're drawing him that way. Reese's press conference hysterics surprised many. Senator Martin Reese, Republican, New Mexico, who had called a press conference, assumedly to announce his intentions to leave politics to join the PGA, erupted into hysterics today. Witnesses reported the senator to have shouted, "Texas is just too bleep big. Run for your lives before it eats us all." Senator Reese, long considered one of the most mentally sound figures on Capitol Hill, had to be restrained and was led away in a makeshift straitjacket. When questioned about Senator Reese's rantings, Representative Lolana Elwich, Democrat, Texas, a Democrat from Texas? Seriously? Never happened, professed complete ignorance. Everyone knows Texas is big, but really. Most people who witnessed the display admitted to being surprised at the senator's behavior, though not everyone. House Speaker Bob Brogg, I hope I'm pronouncing, well, it doesn't matter. Democrat Maine commented, "Senator Reese's outburst is hardly shocking to those of us who've worked with him. We knew all along he was a whacked-out, thumb-sucking piece of bleep." Senator Reese will be examined tomorrow by psychiatrists who are confident that a complete recovery can be made despite the senator's many years in Congress. Congress makes you insane. Explains a lot, really. Poet's Corner. This week's poem was sent in by 15-year-old Bupo Wong. Haiku to a taco. Soft shell taco mine, what meat art thou concealing? Who cares? It's tasty. That's actually a pretty sound poem there. Need cash? Hey, we need cash. At Oregon Trail Clinic, we pay up to $50 for any and all vital organs. We also pay a market rate for arms, legs, and eyeballs. Are you a lefty who's short on rent? Bring on that right arm. Our friendly, qualified staff will be happy to sever that limb, and you'll walk out moments later with a few extra dollars in your pocket. Hurry in, and don't forget to ask about our frequent donor program. Must be removed on site to meet AMA requirements. Well, I guess we don't need cash that bad. Okay, here's something a little more up our alley. Body found in Bay. The body of Daniel Murray, 29, was discovered floating in the San Francisco Bay yesterday morning. Spotted by passengers on a whale sighting scuttle, the body was recovered by police, then was sent to the city coroner's office for an autopsy. The cause of death has been listed as suicide, though bystanders report that the corpse was remarkably disfigured and contorted. Walt Grimm, a personal injury lawyer, followed the ambulance to the coroner's and reported that a quarantine was initiated not long afterwards. The reason for the quarantine has not been made public. So we may have something to follow up on later. A quarantined body at the coroner's office. We may have a chance. Burglaries baffle police. Something else that might warrant our attention. The total of inner-city pawn shop burglaries committed over the past 3 weeks now stands at 9. Zippy Cash, located at the corner of Jackson and Maple Streets, was broken into 3 nights ago. Pawn shop owner Urban Roby did not report the crime until this morning, thinking it was simply a practical joke played by his friends. Tragically, this was not the case. Of the 9 burglarized pawn shops, Zippy Cash was only the second not owned by a mutant. There's been some speculation that police are not actively investigating the crime, since most of the victims are mutants. Mayor Linder, who is up for re-election this year and will need the mutant vote to retain his position, has publicly called the police to the carpet. Police Lieutenant Mac Malden, there's a name from our past, who is leading the investigation, denies that the police are dragging their feet. What we're dealing with here is some kind of master criminal. He just hasn't left us much of anything to work with. Lieutenant Malden is sure that the burglaries have all been committed by the same person. The MOs, methods of operation, have been almost identical. A girl goes to a pawn shop, pockets a piece of jewelry for a large amount of cash, then that shop is broken into the same night. Lieutenant Malden would not specify, but he said that his team of detectives had some evidence and hoped to have some solid leads within the next few days. Well, here's something. Pawn shop burglaries. And a cat that's howling. And if I'm not mistaken, let's walk around. If I'm not mistaken, we found a pawn shop not too long ago. So let's go in and see if he's been robbed. Yeah, there's Rook's Pawn. Let's go see if Rook has been robbed. Notice we can't walk through. We can't clip through some of these things.
Rook Garner runs this pawn shop.
Well, let's see if he's been robbed, huh?
Rook Garner runs this pawn shop. He's a crusty old World War III vet with a face like a raisin and a tongue like a butcher's cleaver.
I hope we have enough time.
What do you want, Murphy?
Okay, we gotta talk to this guy. And something tells me this guy isn't gonna be really forthcoming, so...
Fine. How you doing, Rook?
I'm not in the mood for small talk.
So now you see how our conversation interface works. We get three choices here. And we've got to be able to maneuver across these things. I forgot that the conversation started where I would show up funnier once here, because I don't want to have to reload and do all that again.
Well, then, by all means, let's discuss a serious topic.
Breaking, entering, and robbery serious enough for you, Murphy?
That would be serious enough for me.
Last night someone broke into my pawn shop. I don't usually have anything of great value, but yesterday I gave out a fair amount of cash for an extremely valuable diamond bracelet.
Sound familiar?
How much is a fair amount of cash?
In this case, $8,000.
Boy, that's a lot of clams, Rook.
Don't you think I know that?
The bracelet was pawned by a young girl named Emma Nimpton. She said she hated to hawk a family heirloom, but had no choice. She said she would reclaim the bracelet in a month. Well, since the bracelet was worth 10 times the $8,000 I loaned her, it was a good deal for me.
Did you get any other information from this Emma Nimpton?
She left a phone number. I called her this morning, but the line is disconnected.
So do you have any leads on recovering the bracelet?
No, the police are a waste of time, and I can't afford to hire a decent PI.
Well, you can hire us.
I guess this means you don't consider me good enough to help track down the bracelet?
I'd appreciate your help. I'm not a rich man, but if you find the bracelet, I'll owe you a few favors, which could come in handy. Come back here and I'll show you where they broke in.
Rook takes me out back and shows me where the burglar broke in. The back window is busted out and the latch is ripped. It's a sloppy job. As I start my investigation, I'm looking for information to enter into my crime-link computer back at the office. One thing's for sure, Emma Nimpton won't be one of the suspects' names. Every PI worth his salt knows that's not my name spelled backwards.
Indeed it is. But now that we have a job, I'm just about out of time here. So, I'm going to cut the video, and when we come back, save, burglary. And when we come back, we will, excuse me, we will continue this investigation. So, hope to see everybody next time. Take care, folks.